Hello, gentle humans. Welcome back. It's been a while. Here we are with nitrogen, the seventh element. Nitrogen is a gas, so he's going to have wings. And I pictured him as almost a Snufkin-like character. You know, big hat and a big scarf and a walking staff and a kind of enigmatic look on his face. Nitrogen is, of course, a necessary nutrient for us, and in the early 20th century, when Fritz Haber discovered how to, synthesize nitrogen fertilizer, pull it out of the air instead of depending on plants to do that, it became a big thing, and it's still a big thing, and nitrogen is necessary for crop growing and will grow huge crops, but there is a price to pay for that. Price is nitrogen's metaphysical meaning in this project, because over fertilized fields are an absolute menace. They lead to less soil complexity. They lead to blue baby warnings downstream, like municipal waters get saturated with nitrogen and drinking it causes babies to asphyxiate, and you get these algae blooms on river surfaces that suffocate everything else, because using nitrogen is not an unalloyed good. And I'm not saying that it's bad, but Tannstoffel, you know? Alright, no such thing as a free lunch. All three of the macronutrients that agriculture requires got the wheat somewhere in their image, or will get the wheat. They have painted them, but you haven't seen them yet. Ha 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 ha. I'm still not satisfied with that hand. The colors of nitrogen ought to be bright. There's a push and pull about him. He's not sinister. He's not evil. He is a dichotomy. I don't know if I already mentioned, he is of course in the second period, as referenced by his purple background. His shirt's really weird. I wanted him to have a high collar, like a turtleneck, only more so, you know? Something a little different-y. Something so you'd recognize him even if somebody else painted him. Or if you saw him in a different posture, or if somebody made a collage of him with other elements to represent a compound or a molecule. I'd totally love that, by the way. That'd be freaking awesome. Nobody's ever fan arted me. I'd love for that to happen. He is barefoot, as befits a person whose footsteps bring bigger crops, sort of Persephone blessing, but you know, at a price. Pied Piper was another image that kept coming to mind. Nitrogen's got a little bit of Pied Piper energy about him. It took me a while to decide what kind of butterfly wings he ought to have. And what I eventually decided was monarch. I decided to make him a monarch because monarchs travel in those massive clouds. Granted, they're endangered right now. A lot of things are, but in the world we could create, monarchs are a massively common thing, and the nitrogen comprises something like 78% of our atmosphere. Oh, and here we have the frost forming on his hat as a reminder that liquid nitrogen is very, 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 very cold. A little nod to the high school chemistry class where you freeze roses or turnips or whatnot and then smash them with hammers. But as I was saying, and it's not just that the monarchs ought to be common, they're also all over the place. Like, they travel from northern hemisphere to southern hemisphere and back in flocks. I don't think it's a flock. Leave a comment if you know what a group of monarchs is called. Flight. An astonishment. Dimmed down the colors of that shirt. It was just a little too cheerful for me. This more sort of a peasant blouse suits him better. I don't know how visible the N is on his hat. I'm hoping that it shows as much as it needs to. And there we are. Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch up with you when we get to oxygen. Next time on Robin's Elementals.